This is Z, and I'm back again with another video. Today, I kind of want to read a little more out of this book, Are There Black Devils by Malachi Z. York. And I'm starting on page 17. And the question is, who is a black devil? Can black people really be devils? Where are they? And his answer is, for too many years, blacks as a whole have been discussing how the serpent seed, the cursed seed, or race is the devil or the Luciferian, the serpent as found in Genesis 3 verse 1, and I quote, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden?" Blacks use this to hide the fact that there are Afro devils, black devils as well. I don't mean an Afro devil by conversion, someone who started listening to the Luciferian and became a devil by doing devilish things like selling drugs, robbing, raping, and killing. That is a special kind of devil who was converted into devilishness. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about this kind of devil. I'm not talking about this kind of devil. I'm talking about Afro devils, black people, and Negroids who are devils like the black fallen Elohims with blue eyes you've heard about, named Harut and Marut, according to the Noble Quran. Surah 2, verse 102, and I quote, "And they follow what Satan recited against the King Solomon. And Solomon was not one of those who disbelieve, but it was the Satanists who pretended to disbelieve what they knew to be the truth. They taught human beings sorcery and what was revealed to the two heavenly hosts in Babylon, Harut and Marut. Being a black devil has nothing to do with light eyes, so don't fool yourself. I'm talking about the brother or sister whose skin is dark brown, light brown, or beige with kinky, curly, or wavy hair. Non-ether, people of color like me and you. Don't be fooled." So I know when I was growing up, and this is the case for a lot of so-called African-American people, you are taught that white people are the devil. They're the original devils. But a lot of people like myself, as I got older, I start to realize that is something that is in all people. Anybody can be a devil, no matter what race that they come from. So a lot of us are taught that we weren't taught to be disrespectful or rude to white people. We were just taught that they basically they have the soul of a devil and there's nothing that you can do to change them. They are all like that. But as I got older, I realized that not all white people are racist and evil, and not all black people are angelic and good. It depends on the soul of a person. You really have to look into the person's soul, their spirit. Okay. He said the following are other encounters with black devils. I took it upon myself to interview certain people about the different experiences that they have encountered with black devils to see the many forms in which they may come. In one interview with a college student that attended a well-known university, he shared with me how the campus was a playground for black devils. He stated, "These black devils would come from various parts of the world and gather together. You knew who they were because they stood out from amongst the masses. They were the loudest and most boisterous, the ones that always had the drugs and the alcohol, the ones that were always throwing the parties and creating an environment of devilishment so others can be introduced to the so-called college party life. They were the ones that never seemed to have any schoolwork to do, but had all the time in the world to do anything besides what one goes to college for. You also had your Liliths, who you never see in the library or classroom, yet you see them in the dormitory getting ready for parties with their seductive dress, intentionally playing female and male games, getting into arguments and fights. Even the fraternities and sororities took young people. They may have been friends and joined different sororities or fraternities and became enemies for that reason. You could see the black devils in those fraternities that always had to push to the extreme and take the fun step show and make it a real battle between fraternity with profanity and vulgar statements against each other. That turned into shootouts after the parties. Yet those same black devils you don't see during the week in any positive or productive fraternal and sororital work, but that following weekend they are at the party again. Black devils aren't always loud and boisterous. You had the quiet, sneaky ones that hung around them. You really never know what they are thinking, yet you can see them whispering with a sneaky smirk on their face. Soon after, one of the loud ones may get up and start some scene, drawing attention as if the quiet ones introduce thoughts and ideas, and loud, boisterous ones act the part. That reminds me of, like, I know in Islam they talk about devils or shaitan being a sneaky whispering, like a whisperer that whispers into the hearts of people. So these are those devilish people who are always whispering, talking, having influence over people, motivating them to do devilish things. You see them pulling their antics in the cafeteria or in the street after class, showing off to pull people into their circle as if they are having a lot of fun. And innocent individuals that honestly came for a good education start getting pulled into these circles of black devils because they seem to be the ones having all the fun and laughter. This reminds me of like the movies you watch where it's like the popular cool kids that always want to pick on the quiet ones that's doing their work and trying to get their education, and they're laughing, they're bullying them, playing pranks on them, embarrassing them in front of everybody. And then the ones that are weak in spirit, that don't have a strong spirit, join the crowd. They start joining in with the laughter and stuff. And the stronger children usually go to try to help protect the one that is being bullied. Once you are in a group of black devils, these devils begin to offer you the drugs and alcohol and more fun to the point where it becomes normal to someone that it isn't or wasn't normal to in the beginning. So he's talking about those that were really good people, but they get drawn in, not really aware of what's happening. These are people that I've realized that need to be accepted. They might have been rejected in some way in their life, and they didn't heal from that pain of rejection or abandonment. And these are usually people seeking to be accepted, but they're not really aware of what they're really seeking to be accepted into. I've seen a lot of good people come to college and get with the wrong people and mess their whole life up because they didn't know that they were hanging out with black devils. The devils come to these institutions to pull and push others to do wrong and change their focus and goals by the factors that they introduce into the lives of others. So this reminds me of, some people really do have a greater purpose, a greater calling. Call yourself chosen, the generational curse breaker, whatever term you give to yourself. Not all of us make it, because some of us, because we haven't healed from abandonment or rejection, we feel that we need to be accepted by any group of people. And a lot of us become trapped. We get caught up with devilish people thinking that they really do love us. They really do care for us. And so they join in. Some of them will join in. They had a greater purpose. They were meant to save a greater purpose on earth, but because they didn't heal from those abandonment issues or whatever issues they had in their life prior to these people, they cannot see that these people are not good for them. So they will be pulled in And this happens, I've seen it happen time and time again. People that lose a parent, or their parents didn't raise them, their parents were in their life, they were abused, or whatever happened to them before that point, they are looking to truly be accepted by someone, and they cannot really judge who is really truly accepting and looking out for their well-being. They have poor judgment because they haven't healed. Okay, let me continue. By the factors that they introduce into their lives of others, the drugs, alcohol, and partying become addictive, and a lifestyle that changes one's whole intent and reason for going to college. Some young men and women are invited into this evil lifestyle for the first time through desire of how it feels to be accepted into the so-called crowd, not realizing the tailspin that it could put their lives in by encountering these black devils and the drugs, alcohol, parties, fornication, and disease that they introduce as fair seeming and fun activities. Yet others leave communities, neighborhoods, and environments like that already, and come into college, getting them away that type of lifestyle. I think he meant to say getting them away from that type of lifestyle, only to be met by these black devils. So a lot of people are going to college to, build a career for themselves, a future for themselves, getting away from that type of lifestyle, only to be drawn into it when they go to college. And don't think that these devilish people, just because they're young, doesn't mean they don't know what they're doing. Then, as these young men and women become drawn by these black devils, they begin to embrace this lifestyle, and they themselves start to become the focal point of it, organizing their own parties and establishing their own connections for the drugs and drink. Now they rule over sin, and they have become that which they partook of. You may have an incident as simple as a Lilith seducing a young man that has purposes and goals set for their future. However, he gets seduced by this Lilith and falls to her ways. She becomes impregnated. And now a whole new world begins for this man, or vice versa. A woman may fall to the suave words of a black devil. She becomes impregnated, and now she has a decision. She came for an education to secure the future of her life. Now she has a child on the way. So she is trying to decide whether she should abort or kill a life on top of everything else. Or she confronts her parents, who sometimes spend their life savings on their daughters to put her through an education that they weren't able to achieve, and they are banking on her to get that diploma. That is what's happening every day, all day, with those black devils. And by the grace of God, we have Reverend Dr. Malachi Z. York L., who had been writing books and lecturing since the 60s up until now. And I was blessed to have been touched by him through his words and writings, which enabled me to witness and see firsthand how these devils operate and be able to recognize them, by Terrence Eatman. So that's when I first was reading out of this book, I was saying how this is why I think they try to lock him up, because he was being honest. He was telling the truth. He had, just like so many of us, we begin to see the truth of who people really are, especially these organizations and these other establishments. We begin to see who's operating behind the scenes and within. We begin to uncover, the deception and the trickery, and try to make other people aware, and they don't like that. When you try to help people to become aware of the devil and his ways, they will try to shut you down at all angles. So we have to be very careful, those of us that are coming on telling our stories and trying to wake other people up or just give information to those who are willing to wake up. We have to be very careful. This happens over and over again, especially people of color. When you try to wake masses of people up, whether you're telling them, to eat these foods and avoid other foods, or whether you're trying to tell them the truth about history, what happened in the past, or you're just simply telling all the ways of the devil tries to get into your life and pull you in. No matter what way you're trying to wake people up, they're going to target you. They target you before you start waking people up. They already know, because these people are well learned and versed in astrology. They already know who's going to wake up. So we have to be very careful. But here's another account. It says, another interview with a member of the Shrine family shared with me how black devils work to destroy a positive thing. He stated, when we speak about black devils, there is an individual who sticks out in my mind. Reverend Dr. Malachi Z. York L. has spent years organizing this church, Egyptian Church of Christ, Christ, in conjunction with the Shrine family. All the while he has repeatedly said, stay legal, pay your taxes, and work together. There was one guy, black with woolly hair, who came amongst us attempting to work his way into the shrine. Yet, as soon as the good Reverend York saw him, he immediately said to some of us, keep an eye on that guy. His energy is not right. So that's what you should be looking for when you're coming to contact with people. Look at their energy. But just because somebody has good energy, they're genuinely a good person with good energy, does not mean they cannot become a devil by conversion. That's happened to me. The relationship I was in, that person became a devil by conversion. I believe they could have been, but I noticed myself that their energy really started to change when they started to dealing with certain women behind my back. That's when their energy, and I was on alert, like something is different, and I was on my way. So you do have to pay attention to their energy all the time. Pay attention to your dreams, what you're being told, because if you're genuinely a good person and you're on your path and you're trying to remain on your path, no matter how difficult it is, you will get warnings. You will get wake up calls as to who people are. They could be a good person and they become a devil. You will get notified, so to speak, in the spirit that this person is becoming a devil and you need to make a change. You need to, remove yourself from that person. Okay, let me keep reading. And within a few months, he was involved in some problems with the law. He never smiled, always spoke ill words about people, looked for mistakes, small mistakes at that, which they may have made, constantly said, how can you forgive them? I know I wouldn't, thereby making us realize he was unforgiving. What finally did it for me is on one of our many hospital visits, he dressed as a clown, and upon his entry into a room with a young child, 2 to 3 years of age, she went into a fit, running, screaming, and crying. I knew then his energy or spirit wasn't right. Now, since he was arrested, we found out how he swindled people out of money, lied, and he now has the nerve to call, crying, asking that we hear him out, which we realize his attempt to tie us into his evils and violation of the law. However, now that we know about the black devil, we can see his kind. They like Cain, doing wrong, killing, and betraying the innocent. Yet when caught and punishments being handed out, they cry what's called crocodile tears to gain your compassion. And this is by Amadou Varma. Okay, sorry, I had to pause it for a minute. So those of us that are going through this journey, we know that when these people come back around after they've gotten in trouble for the things that they've done, judgment comes upon them. We know that we cannot accept them back, because truly at heart and at soul, they will not be changed. They'll be the same people. So I really like reading out of this book. I'm going to read some more, and I'm going to read out of some of his other books at other times and other books as well. But I'm going to leave you with that because this video is long, and I will see you again soon. Bye.